So, Elon Musk did it again. In one fell swoop, Twitter has been dismantled. But hey, maybe it's a move towards mental clarity, right? This was supposed to be the part 2 of my Twitter growth for artists video, but let's be real, most of you aren't even interested in that anymore. Except according to a poll, some of you still want to know how to grow on Twitter. Really? You guys really enjoy suffering, huh? So, in this video, I'm going to help you grow on Bluesky if you're already considering moving there, and show you why this might be the right time to join Bluesky if you haven't yet. Honestly, some of you are really stubborn. Even if you don't intend to use it, you should at least have an account on Bluesky. You do know that people might be searching for you there, right? Back when I was on Twitter, I often saw art by astronomically talented and popular artists all the time. It made me feel like I was the only person missing out on the success. Can you relate to that? I know some of you are still on Twitter because your friends and Oshis are still there, but is that really a reason why you should avoid having an account on Bluesky? I was one of the first 10% of Bluesky, and I'll show you why Bluesky actually might be the better choice for many of you. And trust me, there are plenty of reasons. Twitter is losing active users and Bluesky is on the rise. Listen, I know that Twitter still has a lot more users. Twitter has 335 million active users, and Bluesky has recently reached 13 million users, but this crescent curve is the golden curve of social media. This is when you can grow with the social media itself, and this is the moment you want to catch. On Twitter, bots often outnumber human engagement. So on Twitter, my boyfriend and I have accounts there, and we both have the same art style and interest, but we see the same posts even though we do not follow the same people. So I do believe that Twitter is rigged. You can tell me in the comments if you think that too. On Bluesky, you don't have to stress about the follower to following ratio. So basically, when Twitter opened its algorithm, people started discovering that the follower to following ratio mattered if you want to grow your account. So in comparison to the people you follow, you would want to have at least double the followers. I think that was pretty messed up because it would incentivize people to unfollow other people, and there's not actually a reason for that. And Bluesky doesn't have that restriction as well. So it's really a better incentive for people to be following others and encourage other creators. People have been reporting more engagement on Bluesky with less followers, and I've been having that too. Non-artists are joining Bluesky every single day, and there's a real chance of them staying. Bluesky has an AI filter and heavy human moderation. You don't have to constantly worry about losing followers for every step you take like you used to do on Twitter. For example, on Twitter, if I spent a whole week without posting something, I would definitely lose at least 10 followers. Whereas on Bluesky, people are patient with me and they respect my time. People don't have to click your illustration so they can see it in full, no matter the aspect ratio. People tend to leave more positive comments on Bluesky and start conversations. Bluesky doesn't overwhelm you with extraordinary art all the time, making you feel inferior as an artist. It doesn't create that reality distortion that used to be on Twitter. You can easily see art from people you follow by switching to the following feed, and no one gets hidden on purpose. With Twitter's shrinking user base, you never know how many followers are actually still active on the platform. Let's talk about luck for a second. People who have made it often don't acknowledge or even realize how much of their success is due to luck. That's because for every person succeeding, 1,000 others are failing. That's just how the system works. We give too much credit to effort, assuming it's all that's needed for success. I'm currently reading this book. It's a great read if you want to understand how we underestimate the role of luck in the business success. In fact, this book presents some examples of this, showing how even in so-called democratic platforms, your growth isn't about just hard work. If you make it in a supposedly democratic environment like the internet, you may believe it's entirely because of your skill and hard work. But if you don't succeed, it can make you feel even worse. This book breaks down how that works with a very practical example. About 100 years ago, the only way to listen to music was to attend live performances. There was a limit to how many shows a singer could do in a year, so local markets for opera singers were thriving. Fast forward to today, and you can just search YouTube for a recording of any opera performance. Singers now have to compete with both each other and the past. Humans get overwhelmed with too many choices. So imagine you're in the Library of Alexandria, the largest library of its time. How can you choose a scroll to read? Most of you would probably just say, I don't really have time for this. Can you just give me a popular one? And that's why growth becomes easier when you're already popular. Does the internet really democratize growth? It often feels like we're shouting for attention more than ever, and it's costing us our health. We're doing the work of entire teams on our own because we can't afford help. But for those who have had things fall onto their lap, they're missing out on the experience of those who have struggled. And I know how it feels to be ignored after making fan art for someone, for example. I've been making art the same way for a long time, and all the social media advice I kept getting was to keep refining my skills. At the same time, the people giving me that advice were using different strategies to grow and not telling me, as if the only skill I ever needed to grow a successful art business was the drawing skill. As artists, we get so focused on the recognition that we forget our worth isn't the skills we lack, but the skills we already have. Bluesky has been a reminder of that for me. On Twitter, I had around 3,000 followers compared to the other artists with over 100,000, which was pretty demotivating. But now for the first time, that gap has started to shrink and it's a bit relieving. Maybe my numbers will stagnate again and that will lead to that gap widening again, but now I feel a bit less helpless about my career. Is Bluesky going to grow more? Well, I don't have a crystal ball yet, but in terms of infrastructure, Bluesky definitely has the potential to become a solid replacement for Twitter, especially if Twitter continues its downward spiral. Some skeptics argue that Bluesky won't replace Twitter because it lacks the same level of negativity, but let's be real, it's not the vibe of the platform that determines success, it's the shareholders and advertisers behind the scenes. Think about it, did Twitter start off as the chaotic space it is today? Probably not. Artists tend to bring positivity, and while that alone might not be enough to convince everyone to switch over just yet, we can hope that art lovers and enthusiasts follow us there. So my advice, keep Bluesky as a backup, but don't completely abandon Twitter, at least not yet. Here are some quick tips for growing on Bluesky. Start by following the people you were mutuals with on Twitter. They are likely to follow you back, giving you at least something to start with. Keep an eye on who's reposting fan art of themselves so you can post your art-seeking reposts. This is a great way to get more exposure. There was this time, the vtuber Yoclash, I don't know if you know her, she started reposting art of herself, and I started noticing that. I posted a past piece I made of her, and boom, repost, so you have to keep an eye out on that. Stick close to people who are growing fast and find out what they're doing to succeed. But most of the times, what people have been doing is to recycle their art posts by making incredible content. So you're often gonna find this post with people saying, repost with your blue art, repost with your cute art, quote repost it with your own art. You're gonna copy the same phrase and you're gonna use the hashtags art and illustration. And there's also gonna be a next person who reposts your art. So it can become a cycle of art share. And this is what is giving people growth right now. Reposting other people's art, to my surprise, is also giving myself some visibility, so it's worth trying out. Remember, if you want to grow, your art cannot exist isolated. It has to exist in the context of the platform. And don't forget to watch my other Bluesky video for more platform-specific tips. I would say it's equally important to take some time to draw and some time to figure out how the platform works before you start posting crazy on it, because you might regret in the future not being a good poster. So this is the perfect moment to grow in the platform, and if you miss out on it without knowing how to post correctly, you might really regret it. Yeah, really take your time to learn how to post there. I debated for a while about how to make a Bluesky growth video, knowing that my success there has been a mix of luck, networking, and some quick social media skills. But I've seen many people struggle with engagement on Bluesky, and I'm here to help. My growth began when a region block happened in my country, and I decided to invest in Bluesky while it was still in its early phase. Then Brazilian Miku happened, followed by reposting a Frenzy. Boom, more followers. From there, a popular artist called Vertigris retweeted 2 of my posts, and it snowballed from there. After these events, it became clearer for me why most artists who have a history of success in art social media don't really start from scratch. They have connections that help them push forward faster. And connections lead to more connections, and eventually people who knew my work started sharing it with bigger audiences. Some of these connections were made through courses and mentorships. If you're not attending art college, I highly recommend joining a course with live feedback or mentorship opportunities. Build friendships with people who have similar goals, because these relationships are crucial, and you can support each other in the areas you might be lacking. A lot of people left Twitter after the new terms of service regarding AI came out, and this is something you should definitely keep in mind. Unfortunately, your art can still be scraped for AI training on Bluesky, and in some cases, even more aggressive than on X. To protect your work, it's essential to use tools like Glaze or Nightshade when posting. There's also a third alternative that doesn't get talked much about, Artshoot. I use it more often than Glaze because it adds a watermark that's invisible to the human eye but can make your art undetectable to scraper bots. While Artshoot promises to protect your work from bots, it's not foolproof if the scraping is being done by the platform itself, as was the case on X. However, if your art has already been scraped, this watermark could help it get removed automatically from AI datasets. Although Artshoot can struggle with images on white backgrounds, I still recommend giving it a try, especially since it's a service developed by artists for artists. Sign up to my Patreon for my illustration PSD files, early access to my illustrations, exclusive brushes, art learning material, and more. Check out this video, YouTube thinks you will like it, and I hope to see you there.